Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Marketing Soul. And today's topic is very important. Business is no more about doing less harm, it is about doing more good. Against this backdrop, sustainability is the fast becoming the rational that all the businesses are embracing and working towards. So, when Prerna decided to take her love for preserving the environment to the next level, she delved into the many studies listing impact of various industries on it. So, without any further delay, let's hear directly from Prerna Prasad, the founder and CEO of Ecoplore. Welcome, Prerna. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So, the basic question. So, what motivated you to choose this sustainable entrepreneurship journey?
So basically, I was a journalist before this. This is not my background. No education, no work experience. Mm, and I also did activism and politics. So those are the three fields in which I had worked. Around 2015, I was very disoriented with my earlier professions, and I wanted to do something more meaningful. And that's when I realized, while doing introspection and my own observation, that environment was a field which very few people were working on, and especially in 2015, 2016. And even those who were working, they were either academicians or they were journalists, writers. There was no tangible like exchange. There was no economic activity happening around environment. So I think that was the motivation factor to do something where I could work for environment conservation. And at the same time, I chose travel because travel was my love. So I wanted to do something where I am interested into and I like it. Your audio
So,
is mute. Yeah.
yeah. So, what's the problem that you are solving through EcoSplore, EcoPlore?
So basically, tourism emits 8 to 10% of world's carbon emission. So 10% of 100% the carbon emission is through the tourism sector, and we hardly pay any attention to it, because when we think about holiday, we think about travel. The first thing that comes to our mind is fun, and there's no thought around whether we are contributing and what will be happening to the planet during our travel process. So I think we are trying to make travel or tourism more sustainable through Ecoplore. We are trying to reduce the carbon emission which happens during the entire tourism process. And the major emission happens through the flights and the taxis. um, right now there is no alternative option for the emission of the flights, although there is work happening over there. But the alternative which we provide is using public transport. So go for trains, go for buses, go for anything which is more public. And hotels, of course, like are the second most emitting part of tourism. So in our case, we are focusing mainly on the hotels because that is something which we can control and shift. So we're trying to shift from concrete, higher carbon emitting hotels to more sustainable, eco-friendly, better experience hotels in the lap of nature.
Okay. Okay. So, where, as you mentioned, the tourism industry, the second part is the hotels that you mentioned. So, you must have faced some challenges, in the initial part of the journey, or maybe current as of now, must be facing some challenges. So, what are those challenges, and how you are coping up with that?
So there are multiple kind of challenges. Initially, of course, I had to spend a lot of time in understanding the industry because I don't come from it, in building the network and knowing the people who are in the industry, and also figuring out the genuineness factor, because there's a lot of greenwashing in sustainability. And then our focus was on the point, like on zero downing upon the points which will help a common man to differentiate between sustainable travel and a regular travel. So we came down, like it took me almost a year, and I visited different parts of the country, and we figured out that there are two things by which a common person can differentiate. One is that the construction of the hotel has to be local, made of mud, wood, bamboo, stone, or any heritage building. And second, that the property or the hotel or the homestay resort, it should have at least 30% tree coverage inside the campus. So these two things are mandatory for all the hotels, properties, eco stays which we onboard on Ecoplore. And it's very easy for any layman to go there and check whether it is local architecture and whether it is green or not. They don't need to listen to us. So that was something very important, and we could finally do that after spending almost a year on that. Then the challenge was around in 2019 when we started the operations and we started the bookings. The challenge was that people were not able to understand what eco-friendly hotels are and how do they look like. They had questions in mind like, will mud house be leaking? Will there be a Western toilet in it? So these are like very common questions we used to get, and people did not know how eco-friendly hotels looked like. But now, post COVID, this is like completely opposite, because people have lived in their houses locked down in their rooms. So now they want to live closer to nature. They have, I think the value for nature has increased, and they are their choices are more towards alternative accommodations instead of the concrete hotels. So now we don't face that challenge anymore. Now, right now, with the challenges of automation, that's another challenge. So we want to make our platform 100% automatic platform where somebody can just come and book within a minute. So they don't need to reach out to us for booking. So right now we do manual booking. We want to shift to automated booking. For that, we need funding, because it is a tech oriented process and the expenditure is a lot over there. So that's a challenge which we are facing currently, and we're working on the funding process.
So that's really interesting. And Prerna, have you measured any progress, like with the kind of hotel bookings that you have done so far, and the visitors that you have done, in terms of awareness, or as well as in terms of typical carbon emission and the other factors you must be knowing? So would like to share more on that?
So, if you talk about the number of bookings which we have done in 2019, we made a revenue. I can tell you in terms of revenue. So, we made a revenue of around 8 to 9 lakhs in 2019, which was the first year. Last year we made a revenue of 13 lakhs. In between, of course, it was very less because it was 100% lockdown.
Yeah.
But this quarter, like 2022, quarter one, April to June, we made a revenue of 6 lakhs. So if we compare this to 2019, there's a huge growth in it. And that is primarily because now sustainability is a buzzword. People are interested. And also because they've lived in closed houses and they want to experience nature, they want to breathe fresh air and be close to waterfall, riverside. So I think there has been a huge shift, and we can see that in the number of bookings and the revenue which we have made.
It's okay.
So yeah, so we got the carbon emission which is emitted by our eco hotels measured through a European organization called No Carbon, and they figured out that our hotels emit 9 kg carbon per room per night, while a regular hotel emits 75 kg carbon per room per night, and a luxury hotel emits 1000 kg carbon per room per night. So the emission levels are, the gap is so huge that we really want to get into carbon trading. I mean, we are saving so much of carbon just by promoting these kind of hotels. So
Right.
yeah, that's
Wonderful. I mean, that's good to know, and definitely it is impacting the nations and economy as well. So, what do you think? Can be done to promote such kind of sustainable entrepreneurship at a large scale for the people like you?
So one thing which this is like personal sharing, a personal experience. People, the feedback and the response which I've received from the industry, from the general startup industry, entrepreneurship industry, they look at us like a very niche market. they look at us like a small players or small companies trying to do something more impactful, meaningful. Impact is not seen as scaled up thing, and that's a very huge problem with the mindset of the investors, I would say, especially in India. This is not with the foreign countries. For them, impact is what they're now focusing upon, because they know now that, I mean, that's the future. They can't help it. There is no choice option. So here what happens, like, still the investors of India or maybe Asia, they focus where, if they're getting huge commercial returns in the startup or the company, they will be interested. But uh, but maybe startups like us are more seen in a smaller phase, because that's the kind of response I have received generally, that this is not a big market, or this is not where maybe they can make a lot of money. So I think we should we should give more value to the impact. And of course, like, once the impact is there, commerce will be there, because we are not a non for profit organization. So the aim is to make money, but what is that money worth? I mean, if that money is not creating any meaning, is that money worth it? I mean, that's my perspective. And I believe that we should start thinking more towards towards focusing on scaling up the impactful startups. So scaling up is very, very important. And like, right now, as we are focusing on scaling up, we have around 1,000 properties which we have shortlisted across the country. We have collaborations in Europe, we have collaborations in Asia, but I need money to scale all this up. I can't be doing it with a 10-member, 5-member team. I need a big team to do it. So I believe the investors will pay more heed towards meaningful startups than just the commercial startups.
That's right. So I think the green entrepreneurship word will take time. Maybe now, as the focus will shift more towards the problems that we are facing, I think these kind of things will catch attention maybe in next two,
Yeah,
three
but
years.
there's a lot of greenwashing again. 90% is greenwashed. So within green entrepreneurship, 90% things are greenwashed. So I
Uh,
think the credibility over there needs to be checked, and not just I mean, use green as a brand, use green as bringing some real change on ground.
Interesting. I think you have raised a very serious concern actually. I know where to put the attention actually. This is what you are referring to, right?
Yeah, because if you observe the brands which are using which are like, I know examples. I live in Delhi, and I've seen big hoardings of brands which are doing totally opposite work, and then using the word green. And that's 100% greenwashing. And that's what, because these people have money, so of course they have the resources and everything. So green is like, it's more like organic. So we all know the fate of the organic industry. In the name of organic, how much inorganic stuff is being sold at a higher price.
True. I completely agree. So, what would be your way forward plan to boost this initiative? Some thoughts on it.
So right now my focus is on funding process, and I know that I want to scale this up. I don't want to let it be limited like a small startup or a travel company or an innovative idea which just remained like that. And uh, but I don't want to scale up by compromising on the ethical values, because the goal of starting the company was never to make money. The goal was always to create an impact and reduce the carbon emission, contribute in that. So that goal will be the first priority always. But at the same time, wherever we need to adjust, we need to be more flexible, or we need to mold ourselves, we are completely open for that. And we need funding, and we need huge funding. So right now, like, we are seeking our first round of investment, where we require a minimum of 2 crore rupees to start with. And the aim is to raise multiple rounds and make it a global company.
So, where exactly you see next 3 to 4 years without funding?
Without funding, of course, the same thing we'll be doing, but the progress will be slow. So right now we have 200 properties which we have aggregated. If the funding doesn't happen, which it shouldn't, I have that much belief on my competencies.
Yes.
So if we don't get the funding, then maybe we will be taking more time to do the same thing. It may take us 10 years to achieve what we can achieve in 2 years without with
So,
funding.
do you have an idea that is there any kind of a support which is available from a government to such entrepreneurs or and these startups?
So government, we already received a small grant through one of the fellowships, uh, but the they are grants by the government, but they are very very small amount. So they are like they won't support the kind of funding which we require. Second, that recently they have started directly funding also. They have started giving seed funds, but the amount of seed fund is again like not more than 50 lakhs. That's
Yes,
a maximum amount.
that's a maximum.
Yeah, so we have applied although for that too. So because that's just like I think 10 days before it started, like one of the schemes got started. And yeah, so that's the scene with the government. Otherwise, they generally help with all the other things, but they don't give funding directly. They will provide you support, mentorship, and incubation, and maybe office space. So like we got office space through one of the government schemes, and uh, we got a lot of other kinds of support from the government schemes, from Startup India schemes, but funding is not there.
Okay. So now, no, since the research theme is around no, the young graduates no, preparing the entrepreneurial competency skills for them and all. So what would you recommend, no, as an entrepreneur, the no, things that you have learned in the past and that is a college graduate should learn beforehand to ensure when they enter into the market, they are at least basic prepared with these kind of things? What would be that?
I think they should not just follow the trend of entrepreneurship. First of all, they should only jump into entrepreneurship when they seriously believe in what they are trying to do, in whatever problem they are trying to solve, and they should have a financial backup, because you can't sustain without a financial backup for a long duration. So today I'm able to sustain for 5 years because I have a financial backup. So that's very very important. Otherwise, you'll be just like you'll putting an effort for 1 year 2 year, and then you'll be frustrated and going to a job. So persistence is very important, but persistence without a backup is not possible. Like you can't be not eating anything and still keeping on working. You need money to survive. So whenever like you're jumping into it, uh, don't give up. Keep on doing it till you achieve it.
So let me pose a very practical question to you now here. No, engineering graduate or whatever, whosoever the graduate it is, they don't have funds. No, even if they ask their friends, they will not get more than 10,000 or maybe a lakh or 2 lakh. So what is the solution to it then?
To basically whatever you're doing. So for example, when I started, still remember I stayed in places where I didn't have 1000 rupees to spend for a hotel. I promote hotels which were 10,000 8,000 is the max, like minimum per day cost. So you always start small. So when you're starting your concept, you go for the lowest minimum possible spending which you can do and do your work. So and then there are a lot of these support mechanisms. So when you can best is to go through a lot of these incubation platforms, through acceleration platforms, through these small grants also, because they are supporting pillars. So I have done almost 10 to 15 different acceleration and incubation programs, and everywhere have got to learn something or the other. So I'll not say that maybe somewhere I got the office, somewhere I got to learn how finance happens, because for me finance was like I used to be scared of numbers and finance. So you get to learn something or the other everywhere. So these incubation fellowships, startup programs, these are a great supporting pillars when you're starting up.
That's wonderful to hear from you. Last question to understand more on the sustainable entrepreneurship. So, if given a chance to you to prepare a policy for Indian government, what would that policy would be like?
would surely be involved in something related to environment, because that's my field of interest. And within environment, there are so many policies where a lot of improvements, a lot of modifications are required, because a lot of things are happening wrong. And we all now, at least, we can't ignore the planet. I mean, whatever news we read every day, that is all true. So we can't be saying that I don't care. I don't care what is happening to the planet. I don't care whether the climate change is happening, whether the air is getting polluted or the water is getting polluted. You can't do that. And if you're doing that, then of course we're facing COVID, and we're facing a lot of other repercussions. So I would like to be I would like to participate in the environmental policy making if given a chance. And I belong to a political science background, so I can surely be of some help in that.
Yes, for surely. So what's your educational background?
I did my graduation in political science honors. Then I did journalism from Indian Institute of Mass Comm, and then I did my postgrads from DU Hindu College.
In
Political science?
in the political science, right? So there is no direct correlation between what you are doing versus your
Not at
education
all.
background.
Not at all. No correlation. No business background, no management, no tourism, no hospitality. So nothing.
This is should I take it as a real passionate entrepreneur in you, who without any
It's
background?
Yeah, so it's like, when I started up, I was like a fresh blank slate. And from graphic designing to taking pictures, to doing investigation, to learning about the terminologies of hotel industry, to learning about technology, because in my case, technology is a very, very important part, and I really hated that to some at some point of time. But then I had to get into it. There was no choice. If you are leading your company, you can't say that no, I don't want to learn this. So everything was a learning process. Now it's like more about managing things, because now you have team and you need to manage people, hire the right kind of talent. So that's again something you need to learn, because the team members play a very, very important role in the success of the company. So yeah, and of course networking has played a very important role, because yeah, a lot of things. I think there's no, and every day is a learning. So that's the best thing, that every day you get to learn something new. At least it's no 2 days are same.
That's wonderful. And yes, this is very pertinent that no 2 days are the same, and we have to strive every day to come out as a winner. And this is what I see in you, that kind of the efforts and initiative that you are doing. With this, thank you so much, Prerna, for taking out time for us. And I'll be compiling the notes and we'll be sharing it further